Hi, I'm Casey from the Legacy of the Lakes Museum.
I'm Brittany Johnson from the Douglas County Historical Society.
And I'm Amanda from the Runestone Museum Foundation.
And welcome to Museum Professionals React. So today we are going to be watching some clips of popular movies that have scenes in museums in them, and we're going to react to how well Hollywood did in interpreting our jobs.
Should be interesting.
I can't wait to see how they portray the life of rural Minnesota museum professionals. And oh, what's that? Oh, it's a lot more larger mainstream museums? Let's
We have lots of resources and things that we as small museums don't have, which brings me to our next point. We are doing this to raise awareness of our museums for Give to the Max Day 2021, which is happening now. And your donation will go to any one of us. You can donate to one or all three. Basically, it just helps us with our operating costs and different projects throughout the year.
And we got lots of them. Operating costs and projects.
We do. And we'd like to have staff, so your donation and support means a lot to us.
Yes. So without further ado, we're going to get started with a movie from the DC universe. So it's a superhero movie called Wonder Woman.
One of Casey's favorite
movies. It is one of my favorite movies. And if you don't know Wonder Woman, she works in museums. That's what she does. Diana Prince is a museum. She's been in a couple different roles. I've seen her as like a conservator, but also
she's done different things.
Other things.
It's almost like she works in a small museum where you wear all of the different hats, but she doesn't. She works in a ginormous museum.
A bunch of them
because she specialized.
Well, she doesn't age, so she's got to move around.
Oh yeah, that's true.
How does her credentials pass over? I don't know. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started.
Continuing education.
All right, here's one of the scenes.
I learned this the hard way.
So she works in the Louvre in this movie,
which is ginormous.
And now, I will never be the same.
You can't even do the Louvre in, I think it was 6 hours I was there, and I didn't even get to a whole wing.
So I want to say the whole office setup, where the office is set up with the collection.
In the artifact room?
Yeah,
she has her office in the collection room.
That's not.
Her office is decorated with the artifacts. You know, it's like, this is the secret museum. It's my office where I just bask. No.
Right. And some of them are actually displayed too, which makes me think, is it part of her own collection of items? Because in museums,
I mean, they're even well lit.
They're well lit, very well lit. They have good lighting in this. And labels.
And slat wall.
We'll have pictures. We'll have pictures on the wall, but I mean, there's a shield, a breastplate, helmets.
Well, to be fair, sometimes I do have parts of our collection in my office, but that is just because I am waiting to either catalog it, it's going into an exhibit, it's going somewhere, we need to do research on it. There's a reason that it's in my office.
But the museum, a museum like the Louvre would totally have an intake room, and I can keep watching and see which she does. It's a fancy transport thing.
Briefcase.
So this is a glass plate negative, and she's totally
touching it with her fingers.
She is just touching it with her fingers.
I mean, to be fair, it is her. It's a picture of her.
That doesn't mean anything.
But also, it wasn't really secured in the briefcase.
Well, it was in the foam.
Yeah, it was in the foam. So she's holding a glass plate negative. That's something we see a lot of in museums. And again,
we do actually have some.
We don't. But your finger oils are again bad for that. And something else with glass plate negatives too is that the emulsion can come off, and so the image will actually come off the glass, and your fingerprints aren't going to help that.
I'm going to say that foam doesn't look
sturdy.
It didn't look secure when she opened the briefcase. Usually if you have something like that, that is
secured hard pack.
Yeah, or there's foam on the top too that came down and there wasn't. So it would have been solid.
You would have think Bruce Wayne. So that's who this package is from, Bruce Wayne. And in the beginning you see an armored car pull up with this. It's in an armored truck. So you would have thought that he would have,
And they skimped on the foam in this.
Can spring for some better shipping.
I hope it wasn't stored in that foam for a very long time.
Well, if it's safe foam. If it's safe foam.
It didn't look like safe foam.
We
looked like packing foam.
30 seconds.
Not even 30 seconds into the movie, and we're just this is terrible.
This is fake.
Museum professionals don't have fun. We ruin movies. Let's go.
I greatly enjoyed this movie, and actually,
I do too.
when I saw this in theaters,
Did you watch this movie?
Have you seen this movie?
No.
Oh, she needs to watch it. So when I saw this in theaters, it was when I was doing a field school for my graduate degree in museum study. Love field school. And we went to the nearest town to watch this movie when it came out. And it was it was 10 of us museum nerds sitting in this movie theater.
Best.
And immediately when she picked this up, all of us were just like, she's not wearing gloves. And my friend said it out loud and we were just like, how dare she? So, if you can't tell, we're very big sticklers for wearing gloves.
And when we get like more than one of us in a room together, we totally nerd out. So, yeah.
All right, so we're going to keep going. I think that was the only clip we have from that movie, but we're going to check out our next movie. So, our next movie is also in the DC family. This is the most recent Wonder Woman film, 1984. And in this, she's working in a museum in DC, I want to say, or
Smithsonian.
Some kind
of the Smithsonian.
Yeah, some kind of like really fancy. It is the Smithsonian because later there's another scene where we'll get to it. But here we go.
I think Brittany and I have not seen this movie.
Okay, we need to have an education old movie watching night. Just saying. All right. Anyway, here we go. So it's a conservator lab in the middle of the museum.
What's that? What is that, like, DJ light in the background? And what conservation purpose does it serve?
They are a fancy museum in the 1980s. They can afford anything.
Okay, I was not born in the 80s, but I am pretty sure that you didn't just replace doorways with, like, light-up funhouse spinny tunnels.
Listen, Gen Z.
Tell me more. Tell me more
About the 80s.
About the light tunnels.
Getting back to the movie here.
So I'll make it long.
He is tossing up artifacts and playing with a mask, and she's like half-heartedly, she's flirting with him while she's working, but yeah, he's like playing with a bunch of artifacts.
Right. You're gonna break it.
Which is a
Exactly.
no-no. Like,
Hey, good morning. Oh, hi. Oh,
And I think he just held it with one hand instead
one hand,
of
two hands is important.
Life is good.
one hand again.
I don't think he has it anymore. So the premise here is that he made a donation. He's thinking about making a donation to the museum, and so part of that entitles him to private tours, which is something we do. You know, if somebody requests a private tour of like our backspaces, we can definitely do that. We're not hiding anything, but you have to obey the rules.
Except for my secret office museum, like she had in the first.
In the collection room.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I also have artifacts.
That's well lit.
Yes. But, otherwise they've got a very nice lab set up there, and they've even got windows where people can, like, watch in.
Spinny light tunnel.
Yeah, so that's cool. So let's move on to our next scene. She's looking for the stone in the box, because she thinks it's part of
No, so that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, so the note says that it was given to, even if somebody donated a lot of money to the museum, there's more protocols to just let somebody take something, and not only that,
You can't go out on loan.
oh, for sure.
You just gotta write
Document
it.
it, you have to sign.
Just because
there's
I'm-
policies that you
You
probably
just
have to agree to.
Returned a loaned item here.
I did just return a loan.
So it happens.
It
Yeah.
does happen.
Also, but this one's particularly terrible because not only did she just give him the stone, it's part of a federal investigation into like a theft ring of art, like ancient artifacts. She was identifying it for the FBI. So like, she just gave away like federal evidence.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So let's not do that. But that's kind of horrifying to us.
I mean, yeah, even like, and we have also had things out on loan, like when the Andrea Theater does productions and they have a certain theme, we have allowed some of our artifacts to be displayed in cases in the lobby that go along with that theme. But there's paperwork that you need to fill out, there's agreements that you have
not
to
just
do.
a little receipt paper.
Yeah, and you have to, when is it coming back? What's the date? Everyone has to sign it when it comes back. Like, there's
Like
a lot of
rules
stuff
for
that you need to do.
displaying.
Yeah, exactly.
And when large museums do loans like this or artifacts travel, there's big insurance bucks.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
usually there are professionals whose job is to travel alongside those artifacts.
So, and we are not a big bougie museum, but we have the core sample from the runestone, and that actually a board member has to be with that at all times when it goes out for research. and that board member actually has to sign it out, and then they are responsible for that, and then they sign it back in.
It's kind of bougie.
Right?
All right, next scene. Going into this off-site storage building of the Smithsonian that houses their planes that aren't on display. So this is like if I take somebody to our boat storage, and his mind is blown again.
Oh, my, that's it.
He's still got the fanny pack on.
Don't do it, man. Oh,
Yeah.
See, I would. It's a plane.
that's how people feel about the boats we have, though,
Don't
too.
touch the plane. Touch the plane
So she's
with
going
gloves.
out. Are they gonna?
We could talk about there are certain things that you don't have to wear gloves for.
This one.
Are you like?
Wait, sorry. Does the Smithsonian, is the implication that the Smithsonian stores these ones outside all the time?
I guess so.
They don't.
But don't touch them.
I think that I don't want to give it away, but they're about to do something way worse than touch it.
So
they're flying an artifact. That would really be like.
I'm gonna say one. People don't. Usually those things are, not.
First of all, who's got fuel in it?
They don't-
Yeah, exactly. Like, and yeah, the stuff wouldn't be all hooked up and ready to go.
Also, I'd just like to point out plot hole here. He's a World War I pilot flying a 1980s era plane. The technology is gonna be different. But yeah, she just used her museum pass to just allow him to steal this plane.
I'm starting to think that her working in museums is an excuse for them to just be able to hand out props in this movie.
I'm starting to think it's just an excuse for her superhero identity. This is how she saves the world.
I mean, we do get asked though. We have a sleigh in our agriculture building, and people ask quite a bit. Well, can't we just sit in there with Santa Claus for Christmas in the fort? And it's an artifact. It's not meant for use. So again, unless it was donated for specific use for that, we don't actually go into our horse and buggies or into our sleighs.
There's a
or
lot of
anything.
gray area in some museums too, because I remember like they use things in parades, and we used Stella, one of our launches, to go around and give people rides. But in this case, while it is an artifact, it was specifically donated for that. So there are things you can do with things, but generally, when you donate something to a museum, you're donating it with the understanding that it's no longer going to be used for its intended purpose. So what it was made to do. It's no longer going to be used that way. It's going to be treated 100% different. So if you wanted to go to a tractor museum and tinker with the tractors, that's not what you should do. You should leave them in the condition that they were given to the museum.
Yeah.
And if something is going to be flown, the Smithsonian, I don't know. Not
Also, don't
Smithsonian.
steal a plane from the Smithsonian.
Don't steal planes. Don't do it. But there are museums that keep things like you said in an operating condition, but it's maintained specifically. Like we can use it, X amount of times per year. There are aircraft museums that do maintain things for air shows because that's part of the history.
Yep. And to get them
And
there.
it's thrilling as a visitor to see them move the way that they were intended. So like museums understand this, and so it's a very fine line. But in this case, I think they were just stealing.
They were just
You're just stealing a plane.